Eagles. Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Wednesday morning edition of Birds 365. Now just 8 days away from the 2026 NFL Draft, fresh off the heels of a Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman press conference, their pre-draft press conference, which concluded yesterday. Johnny Mac was down there yesterday for that. J-Mac, how you doing on this Wednesday morning, my friend?
Gearing up. We're just a week away. Sorry, got to send a real text real quick. Almost a week away, just over a week away, and got a little Sixers play-in action tonight. I'm not sure if you want them to play in or not. I'm not sure I know the rules, but exciting time of year. Flyers in the playoffs.
Yes, things are turning for Philly sports, John. Things are maybe turning.
Victimization down at the Jefferson Health, training complex.
A lot of that always that's become kind of par for the course for the front office. Whatever it is, We'll talk about that. Obviously, John, they spoke yesterday, and if I don't want to ruin everybody's Wednesday morning, but one other thing we gotta mention here has nothing to do with the Eagles. It's tax day, folks. So get your taxes done. All right. Which is always a brutal day of the year, obviously, especially for a business owner. If you're out there and you're a business owner, which is brutal. So it is what it is. All right, John, I'll go right to you. I won't muddy the question. What were your takeaways from Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni speaking yesterday for their pre-draft presser?
Yeah, well, these pre-draft things are kind of maybe the least exciting press conference of the year, and not that there's a lot of exciting press conferences, but everybody's so closed off. So I'm pretty proud. We went through an entire pre-draft press conference, not asking about one draft eligible player. I believe I have to check the transcript. And the reason I'm proud of that is because you're not getting the goddamn answer. So the more people who understand that are the more educated people in the room. So the best way to go about it is to ask about themes and insights and process and things like that. And I actually think Howie gave up quite a bit in that aspect. I really do. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, which I know a lot of people aren't, but he explained their horizontal draft board. He explained their tiers of players. He explained, the process of how they use the analytics to look at previous all-pro players and Pro Bowl players and starting players and sort of how they create those benchmarks that they have to reach to be most likely to succeed. He explained a lot of stuff, but, I'm sure it's like, are you going to draft Kenyon Sadiq? You're not getting an answer. So, obviously, and the Eagles are no different from any other team in that aspect of it. So I thought it was a very informative, partially. And then the two biggest stories, obviously, are AJ and Jalen Hurts. And the AJ, he just, you got to ask the question. Martin Frank jumped on the grenade, our buddy, how he made a joke.
They tossed Martin to the side. I felt bad for Martin. I'm like, you guys
Howie likes to make jokes. There's no ill will. It wasn't.
No, I know that. I'm just saying they never even acknowledged, basically never even answered his question or even tried.
Well, at the end, he said AJ Brown is an Eagle. Yeah. And he whispered it, which is the same. But I don't think anything's changed there. More likely he's not going to be here than he is going to be here. We'll see how but that's most likely going to bleed past June 1st. So get used to AJ Brown as an Eagle for now. The key is, will he be by week 1? Most people think he won't be, but we'll see how that shakes out. And then the Jalen Hurts answer, I think, was kind of weird from the standpoint of, how we mentioned, he's seen the stories, and that the PR staff kind of throwing the PR staff because he doesn't seem to understand the stories. First of all, the original story, which was from ESPN and Jeremy Fowler And Tim McManus, that had nothing to do with what Howie said was unfair. And what Howie said was unfair was them sort of sending a message through the media. That's what he was trying to get at. I don't know.
He wasn't very clear with that.
No, he would say, I would say that we have some faults. One of them is not being direct and honest with our players and the conversations with our players. So I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah. I see. I more interpret it as just his response to the articles as a whole. But now that you say that, he was. Yeah.
So that's what he was saying was unfair. And look, to me, the question is, I think he's 100% right. They've tried to get through to him, but and that would be the Jeff McLean piece. And that what he's trying to say is that hasn't worked. So they went in this.
So in a way, was that an admission that maybe that is what they're doing? Because he recognized one of the weaknesses, or faults, I guess was the word he used, that, they're not as clear with players.
No, he said one of them is not being direct. He's saying we are very direct and honest with our players. But again, I don't think that's like nobody's debating that they have tried to do these different things. They tried to do it with Kellen Moore. We've been through this. We talk about it almost every day. They've tried this. The point is, it hasn't resonated to the point where they're comfortable, or at least seems that way. So, and then look, whoever spoke to the Inquirer, it's not Howie. So, other people sort of framing it as, well, maybe they're trying to get it out through the media. He thinks that's unfair, but whatever. It's not unfair.
Come on, with the victim shit. It's not unfair. It's a reporter doing their job about the offense that's been stagnant for 2 years. I don't think it's an unfair. I don't think it's an unfair report, even one iota. So I don't agree with that. But John, the one part that I thought was a miss by the Beats, and I talked to you about this before the show a little bit, was I thought Nick should have been asked a little bit about the report with the Crossroads, and just we used that word calcified when the report came out. That's what it was called in the report. It talked about some pushback on new concepts, particularly with offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. I thought that would have been a good question for Nick about, it's his offense, right? How many times has Nick said, hey, it's my offense? Well, if the quarterback doesn't want to run that offense or is pushing back on concepts or some of those different things, I thought the coach should have been asked about that. So that was the one area that I thought was a miss by the Beats.
Yeah, well, I mean, when Howie's up there, Nick is kind of an outlier.
Yeah, he is.
That's just, and I've explained that in the past, and people say, well, why is it? It's not the matter. We talk to Nick all the time. We get to talk to Nick 3 times a week during the season. Yeah, extensive discussions with him. After mini camp, before the season, we don't get Howie that often, and we get him in the off season. Pre-draft is one of them. So when Howie's up there, he gets the vast majority of questions because we don't get to talk to him nearly as much. That's just what that's about. But that's not a bad question as we go. And Nick's going to get put through the ringer about that at some point, and probably starting in OTAs. So it'll be coming pretty quickly as far as, and at some point, they got to give us Jalen Hurts again. So everybody's going to get these questions. I realize the impatience, but yesterday's probably not the best time for that.
Understood. All right, John, any other key? Anything else? I do think you were right about how he gave you some good looks at kind of the tiered system of players. I thought was interesting. We'll take a player that might be at 8 versus 6 if they fit. Well, we kind of something that you've talked about here on the show a lot, but they got to be in the same tier. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Obviously, he's not going to give you a whole lot about individual players or specific players or even how many players they like in the draft. He's pretty mum about that, which I understand. But Overall, I thought that part of the presser was pretty good. But John, the pressers are meaning less and less to me nowadays. Not that I don't listen to them or don't like them, but I just don't. I'd rather watch what they do than hear what they say.
Well, that's fair. I mean, I think people want blunt questions and blunt answers, and that's not how it works.
Yeah.
You're not going to get. Again, people, it works both ways. So we started with Martin's question about AJ Brown. Well, you want to get that question out there because you want to get him on the record again. And really the first question was about that as well, and he ignored it, so he had to go back to it.
Right. Even with the non-answer that he gave, that was still the thing that made headlines. So well done, Martin Frank.
Yeah. So it's but then when you talk about the football wonk stuff, people aren't interested in that. Like, to me, that's tremendously interesting. Like, if you listen to what Howie said, because Howie's going to be here and he has been here, you have a much firmer grasp of how they draft. If you really want to parse through his answers, but let's be honest, people aren't interested by that. The majority of people, they just want to know, are you going to draft a wide receiver? Are you going to draft a skill position? That's what they want to know. And you're not going to get those answers, but what you will get is an explanation. What you did get is an explanation why they've been so good drafting over the past 5 years, whatever it's been, or at least a big sort of explanation of as I said, their horizontal draft board. Like a lot of people don't even know they have a horizontal draft board. It's been reported before, but there you got it from the GM. And most teams do. It's not, but again, I think most people don't understand it. It's like, well, and I explained this when all the draft guides came out, when Rick Saratella's draft guide came out, and there's 500 prospects in there. Look, NFL teams don't have 500 people on their boards. They whittle it down to about 150, 125 even, some even smaller. And it's about fit for your organization, culture, scheme, blah, 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 coaching staff. So it's not just like, well, they're going to take an offensive tackle, and if Monroe Freeling's not there, they're going to take Blake Miller, and if Blake Miller's not there, they're going to take Max Stein. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just look at, well, there's 7 good offensive tackles. They'll get one of them.
One comment I appreciated from Howie was his reference to how he looks at and learns from, what he misses on. It's not only about what's worked, but also about what were the traits, what were the different things that, maybe made a player not work. He kind of referenced, and I thought that was pretty good stuff. And then he also said, I think about him every day. If I'm being honest, I think about him.
I'll tell you what, I didn't like that necessarily, that answer, from the standpoint of, he said he's going to be skeptical. I can't say that word today. Skeptical of guys who are similarly. That to me is like that's bad. That's like you can't blame a guy with similar traits on Andre Dillard or Jalen Reagor. I mean,
but I more looked at it as a way to get multi-touch points on verification. You know what I mean? Don't trust yourself. It's like scientific formula. You keep testing and testing and testing. That's kind of how I took it.
Well, I didn't like it because I took it as, same as don't scout the helmet. Don't, and that's why I don't like a lot of people like comping players. Like, this reminds me of, and I forget who tweeted that, every undersized defensive tackle is Aaron Donald. Well, no, they're fucking not. I don't like comping players to other players for that reason, because you have it, and it can work both ways. Like Elijah Cansey comes out, who's a good player. Ed Oliver, who's a darn good player. And they all got, well, he's like Aaron Donald. No, they're fucking not. So and that's those are good players who are comp to a all-time historic player. And so they don't reach that level and it's somehow held against them. And then it's the opposite of, well, this guy reminds me of Jalen Reagor, or this guy reminds me of, I don't know, Laquan Treadwell, or this guy reminds me of Jamarcus Russell. And then all of a sudden there's a stain on them. Yeah. So I in general, I don't like that.
Fair enough. All right, good stuff. That was Howie and Nick yesterday. John, real quick, we're going to have Mike Gill on and Brandon Lee Gowton. So we got two great guests for everybody today. I want to thank everybody for being here. Super chat we'll get to in a second. Just real quick, John, and we don't have to spend time on this. I don't want to beat up on it. But Diana Russini submitted her resignation yesterday. Just your thoughts on kind of how that story has unfolded and maybe what that meant to you.
Didn't mean much. I mean, it to come out, her contract was expiring, so I thought they'd wait for that, which was June 30th. So she got early. I mean, the way I take it is she wants to stop the investigation, and she doesn't want people poking into her relationships and things like that, which is understandable from not only from a business standpoint, but from a personal standpoint, because Lord knows, what's in that closet, and she's got a family. And so she wants that to go away. I don't know if it will. I doubt it. But other than that, I've been pretty consistent. Look, it's unprofessional, but I don't think it's, and again, taking the more morality part of it, which I know is very difficult for people, but I can admit I'm morally flawed, so I'm not going to judge other people. But to me, look, it's no different than Glazer. It's no different than Schultz. It's all unprofessional. It's just levels of, and people don't like the behavior versus having slamming beers with NFL coaches, which is not. Admittedly, one is worse behavior. Adultery, cheating on your spouse is worse behavior. But again, from a journalism standpoint, unethical is unethical. They're both unethical.
I think that's more important than the morality stuff. I'm with you on that. All right, good stuff. That's the wrap on that. So Howie, Nick, yesterday, now 8 days away, folks, from the NFL draft. A lot of good talk happening around the draft as we get closer to this thing. It was good to hear from Howie and Nick yesterday to get their opinions, get their thought process on some of the draft. I did think Howie was pretty open about the tiered process and things of that nature, which I appreciated. So I thought that was pretty good. We're going to talk to Mike Gill this morning here in a little bit. Once we talk to Mike, that'll be pretty good. Let's go to our super chat. Devin, what's up, Devin? He says, Flyers made the playoffs. Now it's time for the Sixers. We're going to need zero more than ever. Yeah, you're going to need Tyrese Maxey. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I can't get hyped up with that team. Do you even want them to win the play-in game? Well, they got two chances, evidently. So they got to lose two straight to get eliminated. So you would think they're going to win one of them. And then they got to face either Detroit or Boston, and it's goodbye. So, I mean, it's nice to get Edgecombe some playoff, but yeah, probably get him going in the right direction. But until that organization moves on from Joe Ellum, it's never going to work. It's never going to work. And it's got nothing to do for these knuckleheads. It's got nothing to do with his talent. Obviously, when he's on the floor, he's dominant. You cannot build a team around him. How can you build a team around somebody you can't count on to be there? The best ability is availability. Yes, it's bad luck to get appendicitis. It's not his fault. But this is, how old is this guy? Every year. You can't
we have enough of a track record to see it.
You cannot build around him. I cannot believe so many people can't see that.
I think most people are starting to see that, Johnny Mac, but I am with you on that completely. We will see what they end up doing. It's also, at this point, a disservice. I mean, come on. Build around Maxey. The guy has proven he's a good enough player to be the face of the franchise and to take this team to the next level. So that's what I would do, but I get it. It's not as simple as I guess I make it out to be. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. John, what's the rules with that? So they have one game tonight, and then what is it? Do you know?
Well, they advance if they win tonight. If they lose, then they get to play the team that won the 9-10 game, and that team moves on. So they were the first team out of the playoffs. So the 7th seed, so they get 2 opportunities. And if they win one of them, they move forward. If they win tonight, they play Boston. If they lose tonight and win the other game, they would play Detroit, who was the number 1 seed, I believe. But don't quote me on that.
Yeah, let's see. I'll look into it after the show today. We got Mike Gill in the group.
Michael know better than me.
Yeah, Michael know, no doubt. All right, we'll get Mike's thoughts also on the presser yesterday from Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman. Let's go to Mike Gill right now. You can follow him on X at Mike Gill Show. Subscribe to his YouTube channel at Mike Gill Show. Listen to him on 97.3 ESPN. Down the shore, the number 1 sports show down there in South Jersey, no doubt about it. Mike, welcome to the program this Wednesday morning, my friend. 8 days out from the draft. How you doing?
Doing all right. We are, very busy time of the year. I was up late watching Portland and Phoenix last night. That Hornets game was off the charts.
Yeah, the Hornets game was good.
All right, give us the play-in. What? Give us the. I think I got it down, but
I think your expository was correct. If the Sixers win tonight, they will be the 7. If you lose, you play again on Friday against the Hornets. That game would be in Philadelphia. And if you win that game, you would play Detroit. If you win tonight, you will play Boston. And that game will be on Sunday at 1 o'clock. If you play Boston, if you play Detroit, it will be Sunday at 6:30. It'll be interesting to see how they schedule with the Flyers and the Sixers both, because both teams will be road teams first and then home teams. So you're probably going to get a lot of like every other day type of situation at the complex. And don't forget, the Phillies are in the middle of a 9-game homestand, so they're going to be home.
Oh boy,
during all this
Philly,
as well.
complex traffic. Thankfully, the draft is not till next week.
And one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to this time of the year is the draft is on Thursday. Everybody should schedule off that day and get out of the way, and yet they don't, because the Sixers have played on draft day seemingly like every single time.
I got to tell you, I was down there yesterday for Howie's thing and Nick, and they've ripped up half of Broad Street too. Right as the
perfect time of the year to do it. Perfect time of the year.
What are we doing? Does anybody have any? And by the way, the play-in, Mike, do they shoot free throws into a clown's mouth? What is it with this league, with the gimmicks and just 8 seeds? That's it.
I don't like the play-in. I don't like the play-in all that much, but the game, the Hornet game, I didn't make it to the end of the other game, but I don't even know who won that game. But the Hornet game, that was like Reggie Miller. Tyler Hero was like Reggie Miller-esque. He scored 5 points he scored 6 points in about 5 seconds last night to give them the lead. Yeah. And then, he got fouled. He got fouled shooting a 3, and he hit 3 free throws. So he hit a 3, got a steal, shot a 3, got fouled, made all 3 free throws. And then, so it is a little gimmicky. I don't think the 7 seed should have to win to be the 7. They've already earned the 7. Make the 9 and 10 play, and the winner plays the 8 for the 8 seed. Play for the 8 seed. You don't need to be playing for the 7 and the 8.
I say just have 8 seeds. There was nothing wrong with it.
I have no problem with that either.
I'm with you, John.
I have no problem with that either. I'm just saying, if you want to, I think it was a way for them to try to curtail tanking by giving more teams a chance to make. Obviously, that didn't work.
No, it doesn't. It does not work. Nothing's going to work until you inverse it. In other words, give the first team out of the playoffs the first pick.
That was been so. I've talked about you play 70 games and cut that off as the playoff cut in. Then you play your last 12, but those 12 games are only playoff teams play playoff teams and non-playoff teams play non-playoff teams. The teams at the end that don't make the playoffs that have the most wins get the highest draft lottery odds. So right now, Milwaukee.
I don't think that's going to deter tanking at all, especially for the good teams. Like, why are you going to play your guys late?
So say that again.
Why are the good teams who are already in the playoffs, if you set the playoffs, or you haven't set the playoffs, whatever, but what if you're Like, why are you going to play your guys if you have nothing to play for? If you're not playing for seeding,
you are playing for seeding. The last 12 games still matter.
But then how do you're only playing good teams? It's like,
right, exactly. So you might be the 4th seed, and you're playing a game against a team that's trying to move up to be the 4th seed, or those games your record stays the same. It doesn't start over.
Yeah, well, I don't like it from the standpoint of like if you're Oklahoma City and you're winning 70,
that's a rarity, but yes, that happens where they're so far. But the games that involve the non-playoff teams, somebody has to win every single night, and you're trying to win because the more games you win, the better your draft lottery odds are.
Yeah, I think I like your thought process because I'm trying to stop tanking, but I think I'm a big Occam's razor guy. As simplest is best. So I think you say, hey, you know what? You keep playing. The more you win, you're out of the playoffs. But the more you win, the higher you're going to get that draft pick. I think that's the best way to do it.
Look, the only reason I came up with this thought was I'm trying to get rid of games where you have a team that's fighting for playoff seeding, and it's like, well, they're playing Indiana tonight, and Indiana has no interest in winning. So it's like, well, that kind of ruins the integrity. The integrity of the brackets got completely squashed because of all of these tanking teams were involved in so many. The last day of the season, everybody played a team that was tanking. It was terrible.
Yeah, it is. And by the way, your point about 70, you might just cut it off at 70 games. They say the regular season
I've said that before, but we know that the owners want the 82 games. So I tried to find a way to make 70 meaningful games and then 12 games so they can make their money.
Yeah. These big leagues, specifically NBA and Major League Baseball, nothing upsets me more than gimmicks. I'm like, look, if you got a new generation who doesn't care about the game, you've done a bad job. You had a great game. You had great games. Sell the game. Don't sell gimmicks. Don't sell gimmicks. And guess what? If they don't come along, screw them. Other people will come along. That's where I am.
Well, I'll tell you what. One thing that I think has hurt the games, and it hasn't happened in football because they really can't get their grimy hands on it in football, is the AAU sports have made everything an individualistic type of game. And you're now seeing AAU style of games in professional basketball. And it's a horrible game. And nobody likes to watch it because they've only taught kids how to be good for them, not team players. So I think
you got some of that in college football. Some of that. I mean,
well, you do have like the 7-on-7 camps and stuff, but you can't have AAU football because
no. But I mean, the college game is sort of morphing into the pro game, which is not a good thing. But and specifically at the quarterback position, we're always talking about process and quarterbacks. Well, they pretty much don't exist anymore.
Yeah. I had Jeff Garcia on at the Super Bowl. And he was talking about how the 7-on-7, the flag football stuff is ruining the game because, they're the way that the quarterbacks now are reading stuff and they're only, that kind of stuff. His explanation was very interesting about why he doesn't like these 7-on-7 passing camp leagues or whatever the heck they are, flag football stuff.
Yeah, I agree with him. But that part, I do think the NFL, we were talking about victimization, the Eagles playing victim a little bit yesterday with Howie and the Jalen Hurts stuff. But, the victimization in the NFL, all these guys complain about, well, they're not teaching these guys how to play NFL football at the college level. That's not their job. They're going to get fired. They're trying to win games.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to win games, but it's almost as if they're like saying, hey, you're our minor league. We need you to do what we want. And they're like, hey, go pound sand. The whole thing is a wild mess. What was Howie asked yesterday? Something about the NIL and how that has impacted stuff.
Players take pay cuts, some players.
Yeah.
So love of the game is more yada, yada. which is true. And then baseball, but it's the off season. We'll get to the draft with Mike, but tangent baseball. Boy, the offense early in the season, my God, Mike. I mean, you're old enough. The Sunday paper, it used to be awesome. You had that aggregate of every baseball player.
Yeah.
And if you were under 200, used to be the Mendoza line for Mario Mendoza. Was it Mario? Yeah. It used to be kind of embarrassing. Now it's nothing.
No,
nobody
cares
hits.
now. No, and it goes back to what I said before. I mean, listen, the AAU-ism of sports. You've got the individual nature. I had a story a parent told me one time. He's on a AAU baseball travel team or whatever, and he's not hitting. And the coach says, hey, he's doing this with the swing. And then the parent says, well, you're the coach. Can you help him? He says, well, I charge $100 for lessons on the side. She's like, I already paid $3,500 to be on the team. You're not going to give him lessons? He's on your team. Don't you want to have him help you win? I charge for lessons on the side. Well, the funny part about it is the lessons are, everybody was teaching this launch angle. I said, you're teaching a 13-year-old kid how to hit like Mike Trout? Like, what are we doing here? So, I mean, and then you're seeing that go in, like, everything is about velo. These pitchers, they all throw 98 miles an hour, but they can't throw strikes. They can't last 5 innings. So, yeah, okay, he throws at a mile and a half faster, but he can't last 5 innings. He can't throw the ball anywhere near the plate. So, sure, the truly, truly elites, it's worked out and helped them. But unfortunately, it has ruined a bunch of other basketball, really bad. Baseball.
To me, basketball, because I loved them both when I was young, basketball and baseball. And I say it about the NFL, the aesthetics in the NFL is way down. So it's affected everybody. But specifically for me personally, really impacted my joy of watching basketball and baseball. Just, man, it's tough. It's tough to watch.
I agree. It's a shame.
Mike, what'd you make of Howie and Nick yesterday? Any key takeaways from you on their presser as we get ready for the NFL draft?
I would ask you, what do you make of the way Howie answered the question regarding Hurts? Because we were laughing on our show. It was like, well, yeah, if you didn't put it out there, it wouldn't be so unfortunate.
Well, he said unfair too, and I'm trying to figure out. Well, so the ESPN report from Fowler and Tim, I mean, he's not talking about that because they didn't, so presumably he's talking about Jeff McLean's report about sending a message through the media, which he basically called unfair. And he said, I would say we have some faults. One of them is not being direct and honest with our players and the conversations with our players. But that's not what the point, I think, trying to be made was they tried that and it hasn't worked. That's what I got out of the piece. Is that what you got? Because it wasn't that we're afraid to talk to him. They've been talking to him this entire time. It was about he's not listening, similar to AJ. He's not listening. He's not being listened to.
The point of the report was that he doesn't listen to things unless it kind of gets out to the media.
Exactly.
So
I don't even think he framed it right, to be honest.
Well, the way that he said it in the beginning, we were talking about, the Seinfeld episode where it's like, why would Jerry bring anything? What word did he emphasize? Where did he emphasize the word? It seemed like he kind of misspoke or whatever, but as he went through it and he got to the end and he was like, it's unfortunate. We were kind of like, is it unfortunate? Like, yeah, it would be unfortunate if you weren't the one that put it out there. Now, do we think the Eagles put it out there to get the message to Jalen?
Well, I don't think
if you believe the reporting from Jeff McLean, right? And Jeff's been around a long time. So he's suggesting that Jalen only hits Jalen if it gets out to the media. Nothing else really works.
Yeah, well, I don't think Howie did, leaked it. So that, I'm pretty sure of that. So, but there are other people in the organization. which I think he has to understand.
So, do you think it was a protection of the front office more so than the protection of the player? I mean, he didn't really defend Hurts.
No, he really didn't.
Right. Exactly. Well, yeah, it didn't seem like he went out of his way to try.
He didn't defend him even at all. He didn't say one thing in defense of him.
Well, he said, from my perspective, from Nick's perspective, and I'm reading the transcript, from Jeffrey's perspective, we're not hiding behind anything. We will talk to our players directly. I think it's unfair. It's unfair to have these articles written, which I disagree with, but I understand it's also what sells at this point. So that's low-hanging fruit to send off the sycophants to blame the media. So yeah, I think it's unfortunate. That's what he said. And by no means do I think Nick and I don't like the source guess, but I know the Eagles well. It's not coming from Howie. It's not coming from Jeffrey. It's coming from other people in the organization. Well, one of them might be somewhat obvious. One of them might not be somewhat obvious, but there are other people in the organization, and and one went to social media to put out that one quote that he's not being listened to. I mean, from that standpoint, there are other people in the organization. So, and the whole point is, look, why are the Eagles doing this? I mean, they want to change offensive schemes. He's pushing back. He's not comfortable with these types of things, and they're saying we're doing it. So,
well, do you think
they're obviously trying to push him?
He said, I would say we have some faults. One of them is not being direct and honest. So is he saying that we're not direct and honest?
No, he's saying one of them is not being direct and honest. So
I
see what you're saying. I see what you're saying with the Seinfeld thing. Jerry, why would Jerry be here? Why would so I see what you're saying. But no, being in the room, he was saying one of them is not being direct and honest with our players.
That's one of their faults, he's saying.
Yeah. No. That's not one of their faults.
Gotcha.
He's saying one of them is not, and he should have framed it better. You're correct. One of them is not being direct and honest with our players in our conversations with our players. So for us, and again, the next sentence is key. The next sentence clarifies it.
Yeah.
So for us, if we have any issue with any of our players, we talk to them directly. So that clarifies it, even if it was a little bit.
Yeah. So it was exactly. It was a little wonky at the front there.
Yeah.
And then at the backside, when he's like, I think, it's unfair to have these articles written, but I understand it's also what sells. So yeah, I think it's unfortunate. And, but you're right, Zander, there at no point is he coming out and saying, and I want to make it clear, we stand behind Jalen in this, from our perspective, nothing there. So that was obviously a talking point yesterday.
He didn't even give you their stock talking points that they normally give you on a player. Like, we love Jalen, is a big part of what we do, or nothing like that. He didn't even reference it. I mean, I thought that was interesting.
I was too busy.
And
bullseye on the messenger.
Well, he had the stock talking points when asked about A.J. Brown. Obviously,
right.
A.J. is a member of the Eagles. So you had that. I did think it was interesting. He did bring up the connection of Dontavian Wicks and Sean Mannion. Obviously, that was something that we had kind of discussed a little bit, was the fact that you have a guy now who's familiar with the offense, who knows the offense, and that you could see now that maybe Mannion does have a little bit of a voice here, that he was able to say, hey, I got a guy that I think we could get here and help us out.
Well, I asked him about that because I'm interested in Mannion, because we haven't gotten to talk to him, and that's not rare. That's the way they do it. We'll get to talk to him at OTAs. They're not hiding them, but that's just how they do it. Same thing with Kellen Moore. That's just the way they do it. And so I asked him, is he here to help Sean Mannion a little bit? It makes some sense. And he just said, we're really selfish. I mean, we're trying to help ourselves in this football team first and foremost. So from our perspective, the good players, obviously it's a plus when they've worked with those guys, but first and foremost, they got to be good players that we like too. We're always trying to help the offense, defense, special teams, but we're trying to help the team overall. I obviously want Sean to have tremendous success, but we want the team to have tremendous success. So I think all decisions like that, it's not a vacuum with one person. They just like the player essentially. But I mean, look, it obviously helps.
I did find it interesting that I think it was in a different question. I think it was the next. I think it was Elliot Short Parks asked a question about the impact of Brown's future, and they went on to talk about bringing in some of these Green Bay guys. And I can't help but think, why are the Eagles trying to emulate the Green Bay?
Team they always beat, by the way.
Right, a team they always beat. I thought the same thing.
Makes no fucking sense.
We got some of these Green Bay guys, and what they do, I'm like, and I say this a lot. Like everybody's like, well, Sirianni doesn't do this, and blah 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 blah. I said, maybe some of those guys should start trying to emulate Sirianni instead of doing what they're doing. Sirianni's over here winning Super Bowls. They must be the other guys because. You know, people are talking about.
It's amazing. Same thing with Sean McVay. I mean, they always beat Sean McVay, and they're obsessed with him.
Right. And I said, I think some of these other teams maybe and I think they do in terms of the front office. A lot of these teams come into the Eagles front office and try to poach because they want to try to get some information on how Howie does things. That's why you see so many Eagles front office guys poach. But, you know, he's talking about we got to do what the Packers are doing. I'm thinking, what the heck have they done that I want to emulate them?
It is freaking amazing. It is freaking. And Kyle beat him last year, but even Kyle, I mean, they've beaten Kyle. Look, it's one of those things, but it is. I mean, it's a sliding scale. Like I'm going to tell you that Vic Fangio is the best defensive coordinator in football, whether the Eagles have the number 1 defense or the number 15 defense, because he is. Because he's going to get the most out of what he has. If he doesn't have enough, you know, it's going to be middle of the road. You still need talent. And that's how I feel about Kyle Shanahan. Like he's the best play caller, play designer in football. And number 2 is not particularly close. Everybody's catching out. He's sort of like the Vic Fangio of offense. Now, as a head coach, he's got some game management problems, significant, all that kind of stuff. So I get, like, you're looking at Matt LaFleur and McVay and Kyle Shanahan saying, well, they're better schemers and they're better this and better that, but you still need the players, man.
You need a little bit of everything. And you just said it. You could be a great play caller, play designer. Those go out the window if you can't manage the clock and you fumble all these other situations. So some guys are better to be coordinators. Some guys are better to be, head coaches.
Yeah.
I think we have this perception, though, that the head coach is always the guy that calls the plays and he's the guy in terms of the play caller, the play designer, all that stuff. And I think that has kind of subsided over the years.
Yeah, depending on the situation. I mean, Kyle's never going to give it up. Kyle's had, and I talked to somebody who worked with Kyle and said, look, when somebody's better at it than me, he's got an ego, as well you would think, and he'll give it up. Mm-hmm. But he's yet to find somebody. And he's had, think about all the people that have gone on that he's had.
And I'm not suggesting that he's not the best guy for the job of calling plays there. You just wonder, is there somebody better that can manage the game than him?
Well, that's definitely true. But, ego plays into that as well.
Absolutely with that. And that's where, a guy like Nick knows he sometimes gets out of the way. He knows what he should do. And I'm not the best guy to call plays because it will affect me from managing the game on Sunday.
Yeah. And that's what he said way back in 2021 when he gave
absolutely.
it
And when he gave the play calling, when they were 2-5 and kind of said, you know what, we got to change some things here. We went from a pass first team to a run first team. That's when you got to say, all right, this guy understood the deficiencies and said, I'm not going to be stubborn and just keep doing it. I'm going to change and go that way. And ever since then, and we talk about it a lot, their offensive line was the star of that team. And it's been the star of the team. The problem was this year it wasn't the star. And here we are talking about what they're going to do, changes that could be made. And the one thing that I don't think was asked yesterday was anything related to the offensive line that I can remember. Maybe the offensive line coach, I think they talked about Stoutland yesterday.
Yeah, there was
they
some
asked him.
evaluation stuff, which he's already had been asked before. We're trying to figure out who they're going to draft. And nobody's given up. But he pretty much
Jalen has recommended a lot of draft picks over the years.
Yeah. And he's even using that term. Stout used critical factors he looks for. They use that now for everything. Howie mentioned the critical factors they look for at each position.
Mm-hmm.
So Stoutland had a big impact on him.
Absolutely.
And he's gone. So that's something to keep an eye on, especially if they draft an offensive lineman in the first round.
Do you have any better read at what happened there?
Yeah, I have a very good read. Nick wanted to change the running game. He didn't want to change it. And that was that. We talk about ego. Ego came into it. And one guy's the head coach. And what the head coach wants, you got to do. And he didn't want to do it.
Well, in the end, right? They needed to change. They needed to evolve the offense. I mean, I think.
Well, did they? I mean, I think that's a legitimate question. Did they fail because of people catching up to the scheme that worked for 13 years since Stoutland's been here at a high level for the most part, or was it just the health of the offensive lineman? Like, I think you can make a strong case that if Lane Johnson's there, if Landon Dickerson's still playing at a Pro Bowl level, if Cam Jurgens is healthy, we're not in this position. The Eagles are not in this position. I mean,
I would agree. I think if the offensive line was healthy, you probably have a much more successful run game, and things are different.
Yeah.
So you have to go to the levels that they are, but they must know that this line is cracking and falling apart.
Well, that's fair too. The presumption is Landon's probably not going to be what he once was. Maybe Cam as well. Maybe Lane as well, coming off a pretty serious injury for a guy.
One area that they have struggled in the last couple of years is in the draft, finding depth pieces. The guys that they had drafted have not evolved and become serviceable. Last year.
I'm surprised they gave up so quickly. Well, I don't know if they gave up, but they have a lot of young offensive line. They took three day three offensive linemen. Now, look, they didn't play. All right, they're rookies. Why would you expect a 5th round pick and 2 6th-round picks to play? But Stoutland's reputation is built on developing players. He was here last year. Cam Williams showed some things in week 18. Drew Kendall seems like a pretty good player. Like, why is nobody talking about these guys? It's strange to me. They're already in the pipeline.
They drafted Keegan a couple of years ago. There was another guy in that draft they took later on. I mean, usually they get these guys and they come in and, when they've had an injury, the Jack Driscolls of the world, the Nate Herbigs of the world, Vitae, guys that they've drafted and they've come in and done their job and went on to get new jobs. They've had some injury issues here, and what's his name, Brett Toth, who's been around for years, seemingly was the only guy that came. I mean, they had to trade for Fred Johnson to bring him back because they didn't have anybody they felt comfortable with.
Well, Brett, and Brett's the one. Brett, I was told that Brett left because Stoutland left, so he went out and signed with. He had a pretty good year last year. I think.
Well, in fact, there was some conversation on our show as the year went on, and Jurgens was struggling so much that they were better with Toth.
Yeah, I agree. And he's with San Francisco now.
Yeah, Fran, he signed with the 49ers.
We'll see how things work out there. You got a better feel, number 23 overall.
It was a better feeling. We were talking about who's the player that if they start to drop that Howie would trade up for. Like if they're that guy.
Good. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
where's the drop off point? Is it 18, 5 spots up? Like where he would say, okay, there's our guy. He's at 18. Let's go get him because I don't think he's getting any further. Would Sadiq fall in that realm? I mean, he's the one tight end.
A lot of Sadiq talk recently.
Well, and my reasoning is this: the draft is generally for the future. I mean, as much as people say they want that guy to help out now, this is a guy to help your future. They don't have a tight end signed past this season. Not one, obviously. Goddard, they keep kicking the can down the road on him. At some point, you've got to get that next guy, right? I mean, so if he's there at 23, you probably run to the podium. You would hope, maybe, I don't know, but that would be one. The edge rushing position, I don't know that there's that guy that you would trade up for. There's not someone that I am like, wow, you got to have that guy that I think is going to help you. Yet you need an edge rusher. Still, I think you got to be pretty uncomfortable with this group if you're the Eagles heading into the mini camps. If you post draft and say this is our group of edge rushers. You didn't like this group last year. You had to go out and get Zadarius Smith and then Jalen Phillips. So do you guys think there's
Alex Hunt showed a lot though?
Can he be the best guy?
Season. I think so, but we'll see if he can make that next step. But I'll tell you what, for the stat people, his stats were pretty freaking impressive in the second half of last season. Sacks, interceptions.
Is there an edge rusher that you like enough?
Oh, in this draft, no. I've said that. I'd rather take the second round guys. Like if you look at edge rushers, so I mean the two top guys are David Bailey and Arvell Reese, and obviously they're going to be probably top 5 guys, top 10 at the worst. So you're not going to be in position. Everybody else, Ruben Bain, I don't even think is an edge rusher. I think he's going to be a three technique defensive tackle because of his arm length. But he's very explosive. So I think people are going to move him inside. So then you have Messidor as teammate, who's too old for me. And maybe I'm putting too much stock on that, but I find it very hard to believe the Eagles are going to draft somebody that old in the first round. TJ Parker from Clemson, Keldrick Falk, I think is a defensive tackle, not a natural pass rusher. And then you're down to the bridge guys, Cassius Howell and the second round guys. Like I'd rather take Romello Heights or Gabe Jacobs or Malachi Lawrence or Derek Moore in the second round than waste my first round pick. I think they're the same as those first rounders.
Yeah, I guess one other spot, would be a corner, but you did draft Woolen. So now Howie, of course, insisted that they'll take the best player available. So I think if the best player at 23 happens to be a corner, then maybe they would go that way. You'd love to see, but offensive line is obviously the one where.
Now, I want the kid from Penn State. Will they take a guard?
Yeah.
I don't think they would not take a guard. We've seen some, in the last couple of years, I feel like interior linemen have gone a little bit more. So I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, Landon Dickerson, they got in the second round only because of injury. He probably would have been a first-round guy.
Oh, yeah. He definitely would have been.
So I wouldn't be shocked if, especially in the Eagles situation, if they think he's the best player. Now, if best player at a position of need or best player available, that's kind of debatable, I guess. I mean, the question would be a lot of these tackles that you're seeing that are projected in mock draft, Proctor being one, like them starting out at guard and then moving out.
Yeah, everybody's concerned with them playing right away. I'm not as concerned. I think Vega would.
Well, you get selfish, right? You want to see the fruits of the labor right off the bat there.
But I think if you're talking about Blake Miller, Monroe Creeling, and he's probably going to be long gone. But Max Ionacker, the kid from Arizona, those guys are not going to move inside, and they're not going to be ready to play right away. And I don't think that would be a bad thing. Howie said yesterday, it's about year 3. It's about getting them up to their apex. I think way too many people assume you draft a good player or a bad player. And like, there's a lot of development in between that ending of good player or bad player. Like, guys are, and you can look at Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean playing at a high level. They're still expected to get better by year 3. This is year 3 for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not as hyper focused on, he's got to start week 1, as you better find Lane Johnson ain't going to be here that much longer. Just got married. Congratulations to Lane.
Maybe that'll extend him.
Maybe his wife will
only
say,
one or the other, Mike.
Let's go back to the ranch. Let's go back to the ranch. It could go either way.
Yeah, it could go either ways, right?
Yeah. So either way, but if he didn't get married, he's not going to be here long term.
No, I would say 2 years. What's his contract? 2 more?
Yeah, I believe so. I'd have to look it up, but
so if
he's year to year at this point,
right?
I mean, he almost walked away.
If they win the Super Bowl this year, then he's probably done. If who knows? But yeah, you're on borrowed time there, no question. You seemingly think you're on borrowed time with Dickerson because you've now changed his contract to reflect, how much more time he might have left.
Yeah,
Jurgens is on a big year all of a sudden, right? I mean, if he doesn't show that he's back to where he was a couple of years ago, you thought you had your 10-year center of the future. You might have to rethink that all of a sudden.
How much of the Eagles season is based on stem cells from Medellin?
Jeez.
How good are those stem cells?
Chris Cooper's future is relying on them. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Well, and you have Mailata didn't have the greatest of years over there either.
I think he played well, but not compared to the year prior.
Compared to the year prior, correct. Yeah. Right. It's like, you talk about Bryce Harper, right? He wasn't elite, but he still had 27 homers and whatever. But it was still a good year. It just wasn't the year that you expect to get from here. And quite frankly, if you don't get the year that you expect to get from him, what are you? Who knows? I don't know. So the Eagles line is definitely 23. Probably, I would say the highest percentage would be one of those guys, Proctor, Miller. Well, is that some sort of medical thing? Procter and Gamble.
Miller.
One of those
not Procter
guys.
And Ian Acker. That's not.
Yes, Ian Acker, Penn State. The kid from Arizona State, who's also got a elongated, multiple syllable pronounced last name.
Johnny Mack is out on Ian Acker. That's what I can tell you after doing the show.
It's too raw for me. Too raw. But I just said it's not about playing right away. But year 3, you don't have Stoutland anymore. That's my concern. Nothing against Chris Cooper, but
he's the Arizona State kid, correct?
Yeah. Ian Acker. At Mike Gill Show, make sure you follow Mike on the X platform, his YouTube page as well. Make sure you subscribe there. 97.3 The Sports Bash. I'm sure you got some big draft things set up down there, don't you? Are you doing a live?
Yes,
remote?
We will be live at Ocean. They are giving us the balcony bar for the entire day.
Oh, nice.
We are giving away a pair of club box tickets to a game this year. We're doing an overnight stay. We've got concert tickets, comedy shows. It's an all-day event on the 23rd. So we will be there for the draft. I can't believe it's coming up. It's a busy time. You got the Flyers back in the playoffs.
We talked about everything but pucks. The Flyers. We got to give the Flyers some love.
Hey, listen.
I don't know much about
Flyers. Are all of a sudden. We debated this about. We were at the Super Bowl. We were talking about this. We had a big group out there. There was like 6 of us that went out for the Super Bowl from my show. And we were debating one night who has a better outlook for the future, the Sixers or the Flyers. And, the Sixers side was like, you got Maxey, you got Edgecombe. You at least have 2 young guys that look like they can play and you can start to grow with them. The Flyers at that time, you're like, they really just don't have anything that you're excited about. And then this wonky, situation in hockey where a college player is allowed to come in and play right away. The team gets eliminated, which was an upset, by the way. Michigan State loses to Wisconsin. And then the kids play for you the next week. And it's like, Like we were talking about this in baseball. You could do it in baseball where you draft a guy in June and then he can play for you in the second half. It's only happened 24 times in the history of baseball. And very, 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 very infrequently does it happen to impact the playoff race. There was a guy who pitched for the Royals a couple of years ago, 2014, that pitched in a playoff. But to put a guy in the middle of a playoff race and then have him be a key player for you after he was playing in college the week before is nuts.
Forgive me, but who are we talking about?
Porter Martone is
there we go.
The player. He is a 19-year-old kid. He got drafted by the Flyers in the draft last year. He decided to play hockey in college. His college season ended.
All right, that's a good story. I like it.
His college season ended. They got upset by Wisconsin. And when his college season ended, the Flyers brought him up and played him.
And he's playing well, too. He's
on the first line.
I'll tell you what, I lived in the Midwest for way too long. And back then, I don't know if it's still called, the WCHA was like the best college hockey conference. Minnesota, Duluth, and all those teams. And
well, put it this way: the University of Denver won the Frozen Four.
Yeah,
for like the third time in 5 years. So when the University of Denver, you probably didn't even know they had a college, a team, or anything, and they are winning the hockey national championship.
Yeah.
But that story is wild. We were trying to think of, because in baseball, you could draft a guy in college and then he could play in that same year. I mean, in the middle of the year. But you can't see that happen in the NBA. Like, you take A.J. DeBanza from BYU, they get knocked out in the first round, and then he goes and plays with the team. Like, maybe that's something the NBA needs to think about with the NIL now, that you could draft these guys, they play in college, and then once they get eliminated, they can enter your league. That might be a way to kind of, change the draft situation.
Yeah, there's a Colorado college, too. That's what I was trying to think of. They were big time. I don't know if they still are, but I just remember them.
It's a lot of although Wisconsin was in the Frozen Four, Michigan State, I think UConn was in there. Yeah. Michigan's a good hockey program.
Minnesota's usually good. University of Minnesota. Notre Dame used to be good. They're good at everything. I don't know if they still are. But then you have those weird teams like Colorado College, Bemidji State, St. Cloud State.
Yes.
Those hockey powerhouses. There you go. All right. We got everything, Mike.
Mike, appreciate you doing it today, man. Thanks for joining in. Make sure everybody goes and follows Mike on all the platforms at Mike Gill Show. Listen to his show down the shore, South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN, the very best sports show in all of South Jersey. Mike, we appreciate you doing it today, man. We'll talk to you next week, right before the NFL draft. Thank you, brother.
All right. See you guys.
Right.
Thanks, bud.
Mike Gill joining us right here on Birds 365. Good show there. Appreciate Mike doing it for a little extended period today. Talked about a little. That reminded me of like a Jeff Kerr segment, John. We were all over.
Well, the Flyers are in the playoffs. The Sixers are in the play-in. Is that considered the playoffs? I don't even know.
No, yeah, they're in the playoffs. The Flyers. Oh, the Sixers.
No, the Sixers.
I guess you could call it the playoffs.
Play-in. I don't know if it's officially the playoffs, but they're still playing. For at least 2 more games. Phillies, it's that rare time of year where everything's involved, but the Eagles are still number one. Let's not
it's not
confuse that.
It's not even close, John, especially right now. The only team that ever has an opportunity to unseat the Eagles for a brief period is the Phillies. If the Phillies get hot,
I think anybody, if they make a run to the final, like it's been so long. The
only reason that it would be prominent for the Flyers and the Sixers is because their time where they would be making a playoff run is in the direct downtime for the Eagles. Like the Phillies,
and it's just middle of the Eagles team. It's just the natural inclination of the front runner. I mean, if you're good, they're in the finals.
Yeah, but I'm saying they're not competing as much. Like if the Phillies going to run, well, they're in the middle of the Eagles season.
Yeah, but I mean, even the Phillies have had a lot of success recently. I mean, and things get very hyped up in the playoffs. I mean, they're still nowhere close to the Eagles. And they're not even close. Now, for a couple week period, there'll be the front page and well, if anybody reads newspapers, and WIP will talk about them more, but it's only for a very, very short amount of time, and it's wholly dependent on tremendous success. I mean, you have to be like the best team or in the conversation to be the best team. And the Eagles could be 9-8, and they're going to be talk of the town as soon as the run is over. Yeah, I mean, maybe it changes, but I don't see it changing anytime soon. It'll probably change when they change the flag football. That's when it'll change. Whenever that happens.
Yeah. How far are we out from that? 8 years, 10 years, 2 years?
Well, I don't think it's that close, but I do think it's 20 years. It's wholly dependent on how many. We talked about morality. I should have asked Mike about Diana, but morality and the Russini thing. But it's all dependent on how loud those voices are. The moral police. The game is so dangerous. You can't play this game, and the politicians bite. There's so much into it. But if they do, and I always point to boxing, at one time, for younger people that don't know, there was nothing bigger than a major fight.
Yeah.
At one time.
My dad talks about that often as well.
Nothing bigger.
I mean, and they weren't today. I love boxing.
Yeah, it's a great sport. Well, it was. It's
a different game now. Yeah.
And really, people pay to see like the goofy Jake Paul fights. It's like they don't even want to see actual boxing. But at one time, it was, right there with baseball as the most popular thing in the country. And a big fight, there was nothing bigger than a big fight. Muhammad Ali fight, Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, Thomas Hearns, that era, the Three Kings. I mean, people used to gather around their radios because everything was, not televised those days. And you'd listen to the AP freaking reports, round by round reports. It was huge. It was massive. And, less than a generation later, pretty much it's gone. Why? Because of the health concerns. It's brutal. It's barbaric. And it is more brutal and more barbaric than football when you see, and people have died in the ring, and it is a brutal sport, but
yeah, no doubt.
Everybody who engages in it knows that. So you're also talking about adults, making decisions for themselves. At what point does that factor into it? But if you have enough voices that say, well, this is too dangerous and this is barbaric and this is like the Coliseum, which is ridiculous, but you have those people and they tend to be the loudest. The people that complain about everything. Like they go on social media. So many things are morphed by social media.
Oh, yeah, like you just said that. You act like these people, they're grown adults. They have the decision to make,
Yeah. Well, yeah, logically. But and then you have these decision makers with real power go on. So, oh my God, there's 10 people talking about it on social media. And I always say there's a great Family Guy joke where it says, as everyone knows, 10 people complaining on social media is the equivalent of 1 billion people or something, I mean, you go out. I mean, if you just lived your life on X, you would think you're going to step outside and you're going to, meet your demise. Everything is so horrible. And if you go out and don't live your life on it, you just meet a bunch of normal people who are, I always tell you, my litmus test is, do you hold the door at Wawa? That's pretty good dude. Pretty good girl. If you don't, that dude's an asshole. and by the way, that's another one. That's another litmus test. If you meet an asshole at Wawa in the morning, you probably met an asshole. If you meet assholes all day, you're probably the asshole. That's a good litmus test.
That's a great litmus test. I assume you're a door holder, John.
I'm a door holder, yeah.
Good. All right, good stuff. All right, good show there. We got Brandon Lee Gowton coming up in a little bit. Looking forward to talking to BLJ, hearing what he has to say about the presser yesterday in the upcoming NFL draft. He was in the building, right? He was at the presser.
No, he was not.
Oh, he was.
But I'm sure he followed along, so we'll have plenty to talk about with BLG.
Yeah. Here's a couple super chats before we get to BLJ. Here's JD3. We might have a tangent coming after this one.
Oh, boy.
J-Mac, this is one of the most poorly built WrestleManias of all time. Over the last year, I think AEW has become the better product. Hashtag TKO sucks.
Yeah, I don't. Well, TKO probably sucks. Well, the TKO is just a normal money grubbing. I mean, they've outpriced regular people out of it. The prices are insane. I can't even believe anybody goes to ringside tickets on camera cost like $50,000. $50,000. They got a bus tour of Cody Rhodes's bus. That's $10,000, and people buy this shit. I mean, the prices are insane. Almost Super Bowl level. And part of it's Vegas, and everything's more expensive in Vegas, so that factors into it as well. And that clouds the view. No offense, JD3, but I mean the builds for the main events, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, has been tremendous. Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar has been off the charts good.
Well, when is this? When is WrestleMania?
This weekend, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh wait, so what's the big storyline? Is Roman Reigns back in it? He's the only guy I really liked in the last.
Yeah, he's the Sunday main eventer. It's two nights, so it's two.
Yeah,
nights,
right. I know that.
Like it was
a big Saturday event, and then there's a big Sunday event.
So WrestleMania Saturdays, Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, which would have been a good build, but Ari Emanuel, who sort of runs TKO, Mark Shapiro got involved, and
Randy Orton's still main eventing.
Yeah. They put Pat McAfee involved because they like to have celebrities involved. So it's a bunch of non-wrestling people sticking their heads in with wrestling people. So, yeah, I get the frustration, but it is what it is. And that's
wait, so what's the Sunday main event? Is it Roman and who you said?
CM Punk? Yeah.
Oh, so CM Punk's getting a couple. Wasn't the big story with him that he never main evented a WrestleMania?
Yeah, before he came back. He wouldn't have done it. They had a lot of injuries this year. Braun Breaker got hurt. Seth Rollins got hurt. So a lot of the main matches had to. Now Seth's back, but they had to change. He was going to be in the main event, but
right, there's
one of the main events.
Build up for it and stuff.
So a lot of it changed because of injuries. A lot of it changed because of TKO, second straight year. So Ari Emanuel, if you're listening, get your fucking head out of it. You don't know what you're doing. That's fair to say. But he's a very powerful guy, so he does what he wants. AEW, look, I like Tony personally. I've said it. I do not watch the show. I told him, I said, if you start one more show with Orange Cassidy, this was in an era where they started every show with Orange Cassidy, who's Tony's favorite wrestler. I said, dude, look, I can't watch this. I can't. And I've never gone back. Now, for people that just like ring bell to bell action, it's very good. Have fun, knock yourself out. But boy, it is a mess from creative. So I'm never going to say it's a better run product. WWE has some issues because they have to adhere to corporate overlords. But again, when you crux it down to those two specific things that they haven't put their Fingerprints on TKO. Roman Reigns, CM Punk has been tremendous. Brock Lesnar, Obafemi is so over. It's ridiculous. That should be one of the main events. It's been tremendous. So I think a lot of people don't realize the issues, and the issues have to do with Ari Emanuel.
Good stuff, JD. Good super chat. Appreciate it. Here's Kimberly Sirico. What's up, Kimberly? J-Mac, Rocky Graziano, and Roberto Duran, but UFC is even more brutal, making more and more money.
Yeah, well, UFC is TKO as well. And yeah, by the way, they're coming to Philadelphia for the first time in 15 years. Josh Shapiro. Josh Shapiro's been all over the place, by the way. So, I mean, yeah, where do you see the prices for that? I mean, it's not just WWE. They are about making every single penny humanly possible. And they do. I mean, look at the market cap on that company. It's a monster.
What is it? TKO Group?
TKO Group. The market cap today, as we speak, is $37.93 billion. So, I mean, it's hard to talk to them, and I believe me, I have talked to them. It's hard to talk to them, and since they've taken over, they've broken every single gate record in pro wrestling, cities around the world. And now they have, it used to be $1 million gate in pro wrestling was like a big thing. They do that.
What is TKO? Like this came after McMahon, after all that stuff, or what?
Yeah, that's who bought the company from McMahon.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And they do $1 million gates every Monday and every Friday. Twice a week for the TV shows. And it used to be the big, like there were 5, for years there were like 5. Only WrestleMania would do $1 million gates. They're a money-making machine. And until that stops,
yeah, right.
The prices aren't coming down.
No, they're not going to change much, and the prices certainly aren't coming down. No doubt about it. All right, good stuff there. We got BLG coming up in a little bit here on Birds 365. Looking forward to talking to Brandon Lee Gowton, see what he has to say about yesterday's press conference with Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni, mostly Howie, all right, which I get, by the way. I do understand why you guys talk to mostly Howie at the press conference. I didn't think he said all that great or too much, but he did say some things that were valuable in terms of the tiered draft board and the horizontal draft board, which you talked about, which I thought was pretty good. So some good stuff yesterday, and we are now 8 days out, John, from the NFL draft. Getting closer, man. It's so close we can almost taste it at this point. It's right there, man.
Yeah, I'm glad too. I mean, that's one of the things, something else is talked about. Really, the first question was, what's left to do? And that's one of the things that, Howie specifically goes early the week before, right before those final meetings. Not that he would say anything anyway, but it's just smart strategy. So he did mention they had their medical meeting yesterday. They're going to have a character meeting. Now today, April 15th, which it's so many days, tax day. Oh my God. But it's also the last day for 30 visits. It's the last day. The Eagles are having their local pro day today. It's the last day you can do that. He mentioned there's some day 3 guys that you'll circle back on for a third time just to have conversations about them. Try to talk to more college coaches to get as much information as possible. And then he mentioned free agency, the Temu signings. You look at that list to see if they're guys that we think maybe are more appealing than undrafted options. So that's all the sort of last minute stuff. But the board's pretty set.
Yeah, no doubt. Getting closer to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what ends up happening and kind of how the whole draft unfolds, John. The one thing I think about this draft is I feel like there's a lot of different ways this thing can go, especially in round 1. where it feels like is there a run on offensive linemen? Is there not? Is there a run on wide receivers? And the two quarterbacks go? It's going to be very interesting where the Eagles are to see how the board falls. It's going to be very very relevant, as it always is when you're picking in the 20s.
Yeah, I mean, for me, just personally, I'm more interested in day two because I'm not a big fan of this draft at the top, and I don't think it goes 23 deep, unfortunately for the Eagles, and that's why I think it's more likely they're going to move up. That was the last question. Howie always said there's never 32 first round grades. I think Zach snuck it in at the end, which is, are there 23? And he said, I'm not going to answer that right now. And I can answer it. There is not. There is not.
There's not.
So, what does that mean? And I think there's a lot of teams that will be looking to move down late in the first round, which would make it a little bit more difficult probably to move down if you wanted to go that way. But, Howie's recent history, and we got BLG, it's to go up and get one of those tier players. So he's going to have that tier, and probably the last guy's going to be left in that tier, and that's the guy he's going to go up and try to get. The question is, who's that guy?
It almost feels like it's that, or you got to try and trade all the way back, which is not that easy to do when there might be a lot of other teams trying to trade back. So we'll see what the Birds do. Jerry, thanks for the super chat. I'm going to get to it after BLG, all right, dude, because it's a good one. So I want to give John the opportunity to respond to it. Let's go to Brandon Lee Gowton. BLG joins us right here. You can follow him on X at Brandon Gowton. Read all his work at bleedinggreennation.com, one of the very best Philadelphia Eagles websites. BLG, welcome to the program, man. 8 days out from the NFL draft. How you doing on this Wednesday morning?
I'm doing good, guys. I'm excited to talk about what the Eagles might do next week.
Yeah, well, you probably just heard me. Howie's recent history indicates he's more likely going up than going down. Plus, you look at this draft class, and it's probably not 23 deep in real first-round talent from the Eagles' perspective. So, is that the way you look at it? And if it is, who do you think that player? Who's that player? Who's that last player in that tier that you think the Eagles might go up for? BLG.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are very scarred from how 2014 went, where they missed out on that tier of players they wanted, and ultimately ended up trading down and taking Marcus Smith. And I think you've seen that in terms of Howie Roseman's actions, where even last year, they trade up one spot for Jihad Campbell.
Yeah.
People might be like, why do you trade up a spot? It's like, well, because you don't want someone else to come into that spot and trade up ahead of you, and you miss out. I think Howie Roseman's obviously very sensitive. I did that with Jalen Carter as well. So I do think they're going to have that range. And I do think when you look at all of the picks that they have, and also the picks that they might continue to add, should an A.J. Brown trade materialize, they have the ammo to move up. And I also think in a year where, we're talking about the talent not being great, there might be teams not getting great value in trade downs. So it might be a situation where the Eagles can find a way to move up more affordably than another year. So I think that's what it's all coming down to. I think they're going to trade up for an offensive lineman.
And who is it to you, BLG? Which one do you like?
I mean, obviously, until the board shakes out. I think Ihanachor is really intriguing. I don't know if you're trading up for him. Feels like he might be able just to fall down to you there. But the problem with thinking that is that I feel like in years prior, when the Eagles have wanted to take an offensive tackle, and it worked out because, they get Quinton Mitchell instead. But I think if they had their druthers in years past, they would have had an offensive tackle by now. And there are runs before them that, prevent them, I think, from doing that. So I still don't know, who it definitely is. But I do think whoever ends up being, they're going to have to make up a move up for that guy.
Howie had his pre-draft availability yesterday, along with Nick. We got to mention that he was there, but obviously Howie gets most of the attention because we don't get to talk to him as much. So typically these things, we didn't ask about one player, BLG, not one player, because we know we're not getting an answer. So I do think he did offer up some pretty good things about the process, about how the Eagles tier players in those horizontal boards, how they use, measurements and traits and GPS data to sort of set those tiers. So if you're interested in the process, I think there was some good football wonk stuff, but obviously the headlines were AJ and Jalen Hurts. AJ was obvious. Poor Martin Frank took the bullet, our buddy. And he joked around, 50%. You think I was going to give an answer, 75%. AJ still an Eagle. And then Jalen Hurts with the recent reports from ESPN and then Jeff McClain. That was weird. How did you take Howie's explanation? Like, why is it unfair? Why? What did you think of that whole explanation? It seemed to me like they're playing victim and blaming the messenger.
Yeah, the idea that like that's what sells in today's
media,
as if like I know people like to say that like negativity sells. First of all, not even true. When Eagles win games,
DLJ, I got the data and you have the data. Yeah, I'm sure on your
site. Yeah, way better when they win games than they lose games. So that's not true. First of all. And second of all, for Howie to say that as if like, there isn't information coming from within the building. like there's definitely people who have agendas within the building. They're trying to get that information out there. It's not just people making this up for the fun of it. It's just not how it works.
Bill, do you think I'm reaching to say that Howie kind of defended the front office, but really didn't defend or stick up for Jalen Hurts? Is that a fair read or how do you see that?
I think it is a fair read. He didn't really, he could have went out. You saw what Jeffrey Lurie said about Jalen Hurts, right? Last week, the owners.
That was maybe an extreme, but
sure,
you are right.
It wasn't even in that ballpark of being effusive. I don't think it means he hates Jalen, but I do think, it's interesting just to see. Well, oftentimes what people don't say is most revealing. So I think when you look at it through that lens, it is certainly intriguing that he didn't come out and really push back against the story at all either. He didn't say it was made up. He didn't say it was like, all that stuff is fake. So it was an interesting answer. I would have expected him to be a little bit more effusive and praising of Jalen Hurts in that scenario.
Well, that is obviously part of it, considering, and I don't know if he got bogged down thinking about the answer because he stumbled a little bit at the start, but and maybe it's just as simple as that. But I don't think anybody was saying. He said if we have any issue with any of our players, we talk to them directly. I don't think anybody said that. The whole point is he's been talked to and he hasn't listened. That's the whole point. And then if you look at AJ's tweet, the original post where, recede if you're not being listed, you kind of put two and two together. Not saying AJ, I don't source guess, but there, as your point, there's people in the building who talk a different way. And if the perspective is nobody's saying the Eagles are afraid to talk to Jalen Hurts or don't talk to Jalen Hurts, the whole presumption is you're not listening. And maybe you got to go in a different direction. So I don't even think from a Bear perspective, he got the framing of the story correctly. I don't know if that changes the perspective from your point of view, but it did for me. I'm like, what is the goal here now, other than, hey, you're putting a guy in an offensive system he's uncomfortable with, and it's sink or swim. It seems that way. And maybe we're going to get to that with Nick Sirianni as we get into the nuts and bolts and OTAs and things like that. Is that the way it seems to you? They're just saying, you know what? Screw it. We got to do this. Either do it or don't. If you don't, we're going to have to think about the next stage.
I think that was the crux of the story, right? Is that the framing was that it's like a crossroads, because it's kind of like, if Jalen goes out and embraces these things, and that's, presupposes too, these things are worth embracing and they have the right, system that they want to put in place. We'll see. But, there's a scenario where that all works out great and he gets another contract and he's the guy and it continues to be unquestioned, at a high level, plays great again. He'll have success. That's a entirely plausible scenario. Also a plausible scenario that it doesn't go well. And you know, it's based on the Eagles' own actions in the past. They don't have like a long leash with these situations. Like they don't have like a ton of patience that they're just going to give. They're not the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know, who you know have obviously not had a losing record, but you know, kind of things were stale there. They're not going to handle it the same way. It's just not how we've seen them do that. So it is a crossroads, and I do think you know that you know you heard Adam Schefter talk about how you know Jalen, you know maybe it needs to get out there, or at least the team feels like it needs to get out there to get through to him. Just the fact that that story does come out, there's a sentiment clearly, at least from some parts of the organization, that it needs to be public for it to get through to him. So yeah, I mean, it's all out there. It's not made up.
Do you think there's a disconnect between maybe what Howie and Nick feel about the offense and the quarterback as compared to what Jeffrey Lurie might feel about him?
Yeah, I mean that's a fair question. I don't know as it relates to Nick. I think the biggest divide that I would see right now is you know again how Jeffrey Lurie being like head over heels for Jalen,
Right.
and you know it's kind of looking like at a piece of art in that like you can look at this painting and there's a lot of different interpretations to it, and it's not necessarily one is definitively right. Like there's multiple perspectives that can be true at the same time, and I think Jeffrey sees the best in Jalen. And how could you not? When you know you've been to 2 Super Bowls, you won one. He was the Super Bowl MVP. Also, when you're Jeffrey Lurie, you were the guy who like stuck your neck out to draft this guy when he was still at Carson Wentz. So you would feel like, hey, wasn't that pretty smart of me to like be this forward thinking, and this really paid off. So obviously he's going to like him. And there are a lot of likable things about Jalen from a personality perspective in terms of how driven he is towards success. I think that kind of fits how Jeffrey Lurie sees himself and the Eagles is like, you know, on the cutting edge and so motivated and so obsessed and locked in on winning. At the same time, you know, Howie Roseman has kind of different interests in terms of like he wants to build a winner in a certain way, and if they're not getting certain results, as he projects moving forward, which is a big part of his job, not just rewarding what has been done, which I think the owner kind of probably can be more on that side because you have more of the emotional attachment. It's not Howie's job to be emotionally attached, and I think he has to be more kind of you know sober and almost like cruel when it comes to that kind of thing. And he has talked about himself about he's been too emotionally attached to his players in the past, so that's something he's even aware of. So I think that's kind of where that divide can come in.
Yeah, my divide is this, BLG, a little bit different, and that's what I would say from what you're saying and explained it, which it's a nice explanation. I'm more team Jeffrey Lurie, I would say, in that aspect for this reason. I think it's pretty clear the Eagles have this thought that teams have caught up to this offense. And I look at last year and I say, boy, that offense was terrible. I'm not trying to let the offense off the hook, but yet at the same time, they won 11 games and won the NFC East, the only repeat division champion in the NFL. And they did it without Lane Johnson for half a season. Landon Dickerson was a shell of himself. Cam Jurgens was a shell of himself. If those guys were completely healthy, those 3 guys, does anybody catch up to that same shitty offense? Because I don't think they do. Now, it's still going to be ugly at times. It's still going to be frustrating at times. That part I agree with. And I have no problem with the thought of evolving and trying to get better. I think that's always a positive. But at the end of the day, if you have that talent, nobody's catching up to anything. So are they operating from a flawed foundation is my question.
Yeah, I think as I've talked about before, like the idea of, you know, chasing the system they're kind of going after, I think there's some sense to it. Like I see why they're doing it. It's not like, oh, what are you doing? I can't even see the vision here. I can see the vision, but is it the right vision? Especially when we've seen how, you know, everyone's chasing, you know, the Fangio, but it's a big difference when you have the real Vic Fangio versus the Vic Fangio disciples. Like it's a major difference there. And that kind of just makes me wonder if the same situation applies here. Now, you know, what I don't know is if Sean Mannion could be great. They have first of all, because we haven't even heard from him. It'd be nice to hear from him. I guess we will in about a month's time, and learn some more about him here. And obviously, the Eagles are working with more of a information than I am on that front. Being able to talk to him, it's possible he's great. I'm not going to rule that out, but I do think like they could be operating where they're like a little too late. A little. They're not on the cutting edge as they like to be, and they're kind of following the pack on this one, and that might not work out for them.
Going to be interesting to see. BLJ, what do you think they do next week? You think they move up, and how high do you think they would go? We talk about them moving up to get an offensive lineman, but how high do you think they'd be willing to go? Would Howie go? And I think you'd have to go. I mean, we talked about tackle. I think you'd have to go probably up to between 10 and 15, maybe, if you want to get your tackle. Is that something you think Howie would do in this draft?
I do. Yeah, I do think that's possible. You have to get ahead of 17, right? Detroit, like they're a pretty prime contender there. So yeah, maybe you're looking at 15. The Bucks, the Ravens were previously willing to trade their first round pick, as we saw with Max Crosby. So maybe them at 14. The Jets at 16. With their second first round pick. So maybe there, in this kind of a sweet spot. Seven picks or so seems pretty reasonable in terms of what you can give up. It all depends on how the board is falling there. But I absolutely think that's kind of how they're going into it, with the mindset of like we're geared up to be aggressive if we need to be. So the situation get to the point we like it, to draft someone that we feel strongly about is in that tier. And not just, I think, and I think that's different, because I think for a couple of years ago, for example, we saw clearly how the Eagles played it out with Quignon, and even last year with Jihad, who they wanted to trade up for as high as what? It was like 22 or so, and they ended up just trading up the one spot. So I think Howie's going to be even less patient this year and being more willing to trade up.
There's been a lot of, I would say, late hype, and mock drafts are what they are. Some are better than others. Some people are more plugged in than others, but I've seen a lot of Kenyon Sadiq again over the past week or so. Evidently did come in to talk to the Eagles with a 30 visit. There was a report out from Oregon. He did an interview. He confirmed that. Very unique. Howie, if you listen to him, always talks about traits in one's body, and he seems like a guy that would intrigue the Eagles. I mean, you can make a strong argument there's never been a tight end this athletic in the history of the NFL. I don't even think he'll be there at 23, but if they have to go up a little bit and he's the guy, how shocked would Brandon Gowton be?
I'd be surprised. I just don't really think the profile there is so awesome that you definitely have to take him, especially as it relates to positional value. Like, I really just feel like the Eagles are able to get a tight end at some other point in time. Now, they have to do that, to be clear, because they can't do what they did last year and just have all these guys on one-year deals, which is how it's playing out again this offseason. They have to draft a tight end at some point, or if they don't, they have to trade for someone, ideally, to get in here and have some kind of at least viable down-the-road contender for someone who could be here beyond this season. I would be surprised if that's early on.
Let me just throw in the framework of, like, I think if that happens, you're going to hear a lot of, remember when they signed Saquon and we all were kind of shocked because running back was devalued. Howie doesn't value running backs. And all of a sudden he goes out and he kept hearing the word weapon. Now he's not just a running back. He's a weapon. I think you're going to hear a lot of weapon talk. Like, it's not just a tight end. If this goes down, and Howie, as he explains the pick, he's going to use that word, weapon. And you think about replacing A.J. Brown long-term and you got to get a receiver. Maybe go about it a different way. Kenyon Sadiq's not going to be in line like Dallas Goedert. He's going to be a flex receiver, really. What about if you frame it like that? Does that change it at all for you?
I get what you're saying, but not majorly, not to what you're investing. I mean, Goddard's still here, so he's like, even if you draft Kenyon Sadiq, like, I don't think Goddard's going to the bench and not playing. And certainly you gave him, real money to come back. And I don't know how, like, when they drafted Goddard and they still had Ertz back in 2018, there's only a limited, you can do more 12 personnel, but there's like only so much of a role that player can have. And I already think it's kind of questionable in terms of the positional value in the first round there. So I have a tough time seeing that.
I agree. BLG, what'd you think of the trade and extension of Dontavian Wicks?
Yeah, I like the player. I'm intrigued. I do think you look at the situation there for the Packers and like, okay, you always have to ask, why is the team moving off of the player that you are acquiring? And I think it's clear that like that's a crowded wide receiver room, especially the way they operate it. It's kind of just like a lot of guys. It's not about having, it's really the opposite of what the Eagles have done in terms of they've had their 1 and 2, and then everyone else kind of just doesn't really even matter. They have a third guy, but it's like that guy barely gets targeted, whether it was Quet Watkins or Jahan Dotson. The Packers, they spread the ball around with all those different wide receivers, and they don't really have that true alpha A1 receiver. So, I think they're in a situation where it's a crowded wide receiver room for them. Howie Roseman is taking a bet, a buy low opportunity with a guy who I think could be more in terms of what you've seen so far. There's some really encouraging numbers out there in terms of his ability to get open, especially against man, but against zone as well.
Yep.
And I think that could be a good fit for Jalen Hurts, who, is someone who is going to, this all really, I have to see it to believe it when it comes to Jalen Hurts being trusting in a player to throw to him. Like that clearly is a real factor for him and having that trust factor. But I do think Wick's ability to get open is going to help him kind of develop that trust with Jalen.
And you think that does mean AJ's gone? Did it change your thought on that at all?
It doesn't change it because I've been very consistent.
Yeah, he's pretty consistent.
But it only, adds to the idea that I just don't see how this is shaking. This idea that like has been touted this week that Howie Roseman is building the wide receiver room for both situations.
Yeah,
they keep them where they that's not what's happening. Like he's not like,
they're prepping for life after AJ. I mean,
I don't know if you've heard BLG, but source says AJ Brown is an Eagle. Right, factually true right now.
When have you known Howie Roseman to be like, oh, I don't care what happens, I'm a very laissez-faire, like laid back reaction. No, like he's like very intentional and very purposeful about these things. So, I definitely think that AJ is gone still.
Yeah, I'm with you there. When we talk about this draft and Howie always says there's never 32 first round grades. He got the question. He's not going to say there's not 23, but there's not 23. If he can't trade up and he's forced to sit at 23 because, hey, you need 2 to tango. Sometimes you can't trade down either. So if he's forced to sit there, what do you think of, and there's a tackle run and all the tackles they like are gone.
Yeah.
What do you think of a guard? They've looked at Vega, who's probably going to be gone, but they've looked at Chase Basantis from Texas A&M. Those are the top 2 guards. How much would that shock you? That's not traditionally positional value, but it could be very helpful with Landon Dickerson and Tyler Steen on the final year of his rookie deal.
Yeah, I feel good about it if it is Venga. Again, to your point, I don't think he's going to be there. But I think that's more of a trade down scenario at that point. If that's how the board is looking at that stage in time, I think they're moving down a little bit. And I would be surprised if they take a guard only at 23. I don't see that happening.
Even if it's Vega?
Oh, except if it's Vega. I can see it then. Okay. Yeah, but then otherwise, no.
All right. Gotcha. And then I think the last position maybe in the mix would be edge rusher. And boy, I got to tell you, BLJ, I am not a fan of this edge rushing group at the top. I think, and I should correct, Bailey, Arvell Reese, but sure, they're going to be top 5 picks. Then the other potential first rounders, I don't think they're much different than the second rounders. I would rather go that route than take a shot on the Messidors, the TJ Parkers, the Keldrick Falks, who I don't even think is an edge rusher. I think he's a defensive tackle. And then you have the second round guys or the bridge guys, maybe Cassius Howell from Texas A&M, Romello Height, who's a guy they looked at, Gabe Jacobs from Illinois, Malachi Lawrence, Derek Moore. I think they'd be just as good as the TJ Parkers of the world. What's your kind of framework on the edge rushing situation?
Yeah, I'm intrigued by Keldrick Falk. Like you said, we'll see where exactly he fits, but just in terms of the profile of a guy, he doesn't turn 21 until September. He's been praised for being a good culture player. The production wasn't great last year, but he had 7.5 sacks in 24. Like, it's not like there's no track record of production at all. So that's one that intrigues me a lot there. I tend to think the Eagles are going offense, but I think the way some of these mock drafts have worked out, we're doing one at SB Nation where like Keldrick Falk's kind of staring me in the face there, and where I'm picking right here. It's like he looks like he might just be one of the very best players available on the board at this point, which again might speak to how he wanted to trade up. But in the situation that they just can't, and they're there at 23, he is one of the guys that just from a profile perspective that I think is really intriguing.
Going to be interesting to see, BLG. We are just over a week out now, so it's going to be interesting. Eight, and I think they're down to 8 picks, right? 8 picks because they got rid of one for Dontavian Wicks. What was Howie calling Dontavian Wicks?
Tay. It's already very familiar with Tay.
Yeah. I thought that was
like you're going to get a lot of Taylor Swift jokes, I imagine, with Tay. There you go.
Oh, we'll see. I can't wait to hear from Sean Mannion, but I don't know when that will be. A couple months.
It'll be at OTAs. Yeah. They've been doing that. To be fair, now I don't agree with it, but
they've
got introduced. They've been doing that for years.
I think even Vic. Remember when Vic got hired? It was the same thing. Yeah. So is what it is. All right, BLG. Thanks for joining in today, brother. We appreciate you doing it as always. We'll talk to you again next week, hopefully right before the NFL draft. All right, brother.
See you guys.
Thanks,
brother.
BLG joining us right here on Birds 365. Always appreciate BLG joining the show after yesterday's press conference from Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni. More of a Howie Roseman presser, but Nick is up there. They trot Nick out up there. So
Nick looks tired, by the way. He's doing a lot of work, evidently.
Who, Nick?
Tired, yeah.
Nick's always tired, man. He's a dad. He's a husband. He's a
that's true.
coach. He's got everything going on.
Man. I got a dog and I'm tired.
I like Nick. I don't know why Eagles fans hate Nick. I don't know.
Nick is a great dude, man. Personally, I like him.
Yeah, I don't care about him being a great dude. I kind of like him as a coach, John. I mean,
well, he's a good guy. I mean, the resume speaks for itself. I mean, he rubs some people the wrong way, understandably so.
Well, that I get, but I'm talking about results. I'm not talking about somebody's opinion of. And I think the thing that I struggle with is this, John. People will talk about the bad offense and the deficiencies of certain players within that offense, namely the quarterback who, struggles to throw the ball on a consistent basis, as you've talked about on this show for many times. And Nick has created this offense that's won at this clip, despite it being pretty ugly at times. And they just act like there's no value in that, or there's no.
I agree.
I think it's impressive. What's more impressive? Creating an offense that has to be unique and different from what most of the league does, or, letting Matt Stafford, who's got one of the best arms in the league, throw the ball 40 times. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's not impressive. But
and the BLG, yeah, I agree. I've tried to say that a million times, but to BLG's point, and I should talk about this more. Like Jeffrey, I would think Jeffrey Lurie would be more proud of that because they did win in an unconventional fashion versus, hey, we want to follow the crowd. I have mentioned it a couple times, but BLG just brought it up again, so I'll talk about it. It's like I don't want, and he brought up the Vic, which I brought up as well. It's like I don't want the copycat. I want the guy. What are the odds you're going to be better than Kyle Shannon? What are the odds you're going to be better than Matt LaFleur? What are you who's already copied
on him?
What's that?
You think we're going too far with just assuming that that's what Mannion's going to be? I mean, if you look at the Packers offense last year, it wasn't really exactly the same as like at the 49ers offense, for example.
It's very similar from a concept. I mean, nothing's going to look the same because you have different players. Everybody
Right,
molds differently
obviously,
depending
yeah.
on the players, but it's very similar. They do, similar concepts, and that's what it's about. Not it's going to look different because the players are different. But not everybody's got Christian McCaffrey. So you have to go about it different ways, and even Kyle over his, goes about it in different ways as he gets different players. But yeah, they're all very similar. And there's about, I don't know, I'll have to look that up, how many teams use that similar scheme. And I'm like, why do you want, then it becomes who does that scheme the best. And always that, you gotta have the players to do it. But I don't like that. I would think Jeffrey Lurie would be proud of what the Eagles have accomplished going against the grain and being an innovator and being a leader. And I remember I talked to a very high level executive in that organization, and it was during we were talking about lists. It was during the whole list thing, and and I've said it on this show. I've explained to people why executives in this league think, if you ask them, and I'm talking, we were talking about specifically the Sando and the Fowler list, because those are the ones, they're not just bullshit, my opinion. Those are the ones that ask league executives to rank the quarterbacks. And you have people like Justin Herbert and Matthew Stafford before he wins the MVP ranked ahead of Jalen Hurts, and everybody would lose their mind. So that was the basis of the discussion. And I said what I said on the show. Well, the reason is they don't want to play the way you guys want to play. So in other words, they're thinking about quarterbacks for their systems.
Yeah, but don't the Eagles? I mean, haven't you pointed out that the Eagles don't really want to play the way that they play?
Well, and again, this was a high level executive, but not on the football side. And his answer was, well, they'll probably try to copy us now. And I said, no, they won't. And I was correct on that one. Because the Eagles aren't even accepting of it. And that pretty much sums it up to me. I'm like, they won, but they didn't win the right way. And that's even internal. Like, that's a virus. That's an internal virus. You can blame the media. You can blame whoever you want. That's an internal. They went through it, and they're the ones saying, well, geez, we have to change. I'm the opposite. I'm like, really? Not with this quarterback. Again, I'm of the belief you take advantage of what you have for whatever that shelf life is.
Yeah.
And I'm not shortening that shelf life because, I want to copy Kyle Shanahan. Now, there are other factors involved. I mean, number one would be whomever you want to blame for Jalen Hurts taking the +1 out of it, whether it's him or the organization or a combination of both. That's got to get fixed. It's not going to work without that. So somebody's got to convince somebody that needs to be part of the offense. But yeah, I don't.
Can you answer this for me, John? Because this is a lot. I don't want to pick on a commenter here, but I get this from many commenters. Original Philly. We hate Nick because he doesn't do shit. He's a mascot, but acts like he's John Madden. Then he follows up. What does he do other than pep speeches? And then he says, just imagine what a real coach could have done. Like, why do we get that so much that Nick doesn't do anything? What is your response to that?
I don't want to pick on the commenter either, but I mean, like, why would you make that comment? Like, you have no idea what his job entails. It's a fucking big job. What does he do? Well, he hires the coaches, number one. if you like Sean Mannion, if you dislike Sean Mannion, blame it on Nick Sirianni. That perception has been wrong for years. Whether you like Chris Cooper or you don't like Chris Cooper, even though Vic gave him a big endorsement, blame it on Nick Sirianni because he's the one who's got to hire him. As far as running practice, even the legit, I always talk about I've talked to so many coaches over the years, and the one thing they all in common is how bogged down they get with non-football stuff. Like you gotta do media, you gotta do this, you gotta meet with the TV crew, you're pulled in 17 different directions. Now during draft time, you gotta come in and lobby for the type of players you want for the particular scheme. There's logistics. You got to run practice. You don't just throw footballs out there and say, hey, guys, go practice. It's very structured. You got to get as many reps as humanly possible. You got to make Vic Fangio happy. You got to make Sean Mannion happy. It's such an enormous job. And that's for every NFL coach. That's not just Nick Sirianni. And, to call any NFL coach, even the ones who aren't successful mascots, you're embarrassing yourself. It's an enormous job.
I agree. Here's one more super chat to wrap up the show, John. Jerry, what's up, Jerry? Thanks for the super chat, brother. He says this: I was a huge WWE fan. I watched since WrestleMania 2. I haven't watched since 2015. It turned into gymnastics. Everyone kicks out of finishers and very few guys who scare the shit out of you.
Well, Brock Lesnar's still there, and Oba Femi. So tune in for that, because those are two guys that will scare the living shit out of you. But and that's why it's got, and to a certain degree, that's why it's so over to that point. There's a lot of that would be more the criticism of the other company, the gymnastics part of it. But let's be honest, the athletes are so much better. And some of that is good, but selling sort of a lost art. But that's just, people grow up and they like certain people. You always hear young people want to be pro wrestlers. They want to copy Shawn Michaels. They want to copy Rey Mysterio. Now it's as they get older and there's younger ones, they want to copy some of these great level athletes who do a lot of gymnastic stuff. So, but generally what gets over is the guys who look like they can really kick the shit out of you. That's always what pro wrestling has been and always will be. And those guys, and when you combine the both, guys who look credible and can actually work, you got something special.
Good stuff. Jerry, thanks for the super chat, brother. Johnny Mac, your final thoughts 8 days out from the NFL draft, my friend.
Big tangent day. We gotta focus, hyper focus, but playoffs are going on. A lot of WrestleMania is going on, so we're gonna get those WrestleMania questions. And it's enjoyable. Feel free to throw them out there. I enjoy talking pro wrestling. Interesting industry that I know too much about. Very similar to football.
It is. Good stuff. All right, Johnny Mac. Thank you, brother. We will catch up with you tomorrow on a Thursday edition of Birds 365. Thank you, brother.
All right. Thanks all.
All right. Thanks, Johnny Mac. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen joining us right here on Birds 365. Good show today. Two great guests with Mike Gill and Brandon Lee Gowton. Appreciate both of those guys for joining the program today. Bear with me, guys. I just got to do a quick production here on the air. How's everybody doing today? Whoa. What is going on here? Stand by. What do we got? 8 days. 8 days from the draft. All right, Nick and Howie spoke yesterday. I not much from it. They don't Now what? There we go. Damn microphone doesn't work. Touch the microphone once. 1 second. All right, I'm back. My bad. The microphone, if I touch the mic, it it goes off. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. Pat Callahan, rest in peace to his soul. Pat Callahan dropped it when he was here a while ago, and he broke the back of it. I've been using the same mic ever since. So I got to get a new mic for myself. I got to get a new mic eventually. But yeah, Howie and Nick spoke yesterday. Not a whole lot. I mean, they gave you some interesting intel on the tiered draft approach, which I thought was pretty good. But other than that, not really too much there. I thought for sure that the beat reporter should have asked about the report that Jalen and the coaching staff have butted heads, and he doesn't run what they want to run at times. Like that to me was the story. That was the story, not Howie saying, "Hey, we try and communicate with every player." That was secondary. That was secondary. I don't know why they didn't get that question in there for Nick, but I guess maybe it'll be asked at some point in time a little later on. We will see if they ask him that. Probably won't. I mean, maybe they will. Maybe they won't. Z admitted it was a shit press. I mean, it was shit, Big Mike, but Big Mike, they're all shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's not new. Big Mike, I don't get anything from them. I don't get anything from them when they're good. I mean, there's a couple things you can take here and there, but who cares what they say? Watch what they do, right? I got to go. Good. JD3, appreciate you, brother. Keep coping. 4-4. Nick is here to stay and Hurts is gone. I don't think so, but we will find out. I like Nick. You're not. I don't mind Nick Sirianni. I think he's a goof, but I think he's done a pretty good job as a head coach. Here's Original Philly. I think any QB would butt heads with that offensive play calling. Well, Original Philly, then what do you have to say to the offensive play calling is strictly tailored to the quarterback skill sets? Do you just not think that's true? I mean, I guess that if you write this comment, then I assume you just don't think that's true. Darlene says, what info are you looking for that you didn't get from the presser? I wanted the question to Nick about Jalen and butting heads with the coaching staffs. Not running the plays, not running the concepts, not being open to being under center, not wanting to do any of the things they want to do. What do you mean? They didn't address that at all. Howie didn't back Jalen one bit, Darlene. I mean, he didn't even as much as mention it. He said it was unfair. Played the victim card. What is up with, by the way, what is up with this Eagles organization playing the victim card? I mean, you got Jeffrey Lurie up there. Oh, the 57, Super Bowl 57 was stolen from us. No, the Eagles lost the game, fair and square. Okay? They lost the football game. Don't cry about it. Don't put yourself in the victim shoes. Don't say it was stolen from us. It sounds ridiculous. Who thinks like that? That's so dumb. So I don't like that. And now Howie, unfair. It's not unfair. The offense has stunk for 2 years. It's not unfair. What do you mean unfair? It's not unfair. The reporter's doing the reporter's job. Not everybody's going to like it. Darlene doesn't like it. Original Philly doesn't like it. Not everybody's going to like it. Zander, what's Jacob looking like on draft? I don't know. Here's what I know, Kyle. I'll be here. I got to figure out Cilio and John on whether they'll be here. Cilio, maybe not. Cilio will probably want some extra moolah. So, which I understand, but I don't know. I got to figure that out. I'll figure it out. Raspin, that's a great question. They're paying all this money to depth receivers more so than they ever have. That's a great point. Twiz, that's a great point as well. Xander, as bad as our passing attack was last year, we were only 30 yards a game to be around top 10. Play here and there a game. That's true, Twiz. It's a good point, dude. I mean, it shows you that the margins are small. A little improvement can go a long way. I think a little improvement would go a long way in the effectiveness of the football team as well. I do. Stand by. Let me pull this segment here. The communists over at Anthropic are killing me right now. You should join Philly 500. Well, Eduardo, I love Philly 500. I'd love to do it, but my friend, I'm running a business, and I need money coming in. So joining Philly 500 stream doesn't do what I need it to do, unfortunately. You know, margins are tight, my friend. Margins are tight. If I'm not working and I'm not doing shows, I'm losing cash. I'm losing cash. So it is what it is. What up, Colin? How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Here's Original Philly. Where does this idea, this offense was tailored and custom built for Jalen, when Foles already said it's the exact same plays from when he was here? Well, it was. I mean, Nick Sirianni never ran this offense. What does Nick Foles have anything to do with Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts? Give a shit what Nick Foles had to say. Nick Foles was here 10 years ago. Nick Sirianni never ran an offense like this. Are you under the impression he created this offense for somebody other than Jalen Hurts? Do you think he created Original Philly? Here's a better question. Do you think he created this offense to accentuate the talents of the players on the team, i.e. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? I mean, come on, man. Original Philly, newsflash, bro. Barely anybody creates shit. Football's been around for a long time. People are taking different versions of what other people have done and making it to their, making it tailor-built to their team. Whoa. Sylvester Stallone? Rest in peace, Sylvester Stallone? Nah. Is that true? He's lying? I don't see it anywhere. Check. I don't know why this mic keeps shutting off. My problem is the wording tailored and customized. That isn't true. Well, it is. What do you mean it's not tailored? Yes, it is. If you go to a suit, if you go to Men's Warehouse and you pick up a suit off the rack and they make it for your body, it's tailored to you. It's the same fucking suit that somebody else might buy. You might be double your weight or double your height. It's the same suit. It's tailored to that person. Same offense is tailored to Jalen Hurts. What are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? It's not tailored. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. He's the quarterback of the team. Come on, dude. Come on, man. This says Sylvester. Yeah, come on, man. You got me spooked. You got me spooked. We just don't agree. All right, it's fine. Well, you're wrong, unfortunately for you. Hate to see it. You think they put a quarterback into play and they don't do anything that's tailored to that quarterback? I mean, come on, brother. What are you talking about? I mean, I'm not even trying to toot my own horn that I'm right here, but this is common knowledge. John says it 450 times a week. Is the offense in San Francisco tailored around Brock Purdy? Yeah, it might be the same offense he's run with other quarterbacks. It's tailored to Brock Purdy right now. Has nothing to do with glaze on Nick. Nothing to do with glaze on Nick. It's not even giving Nick credit. It's just simply pointing out the fact that the offense in Philadelphia is for Jalen Hurts. You never see a throw over the middle. That's Jalen. Colin says, Zander, I'm excited to meet you at the tail. Me too, brother. Looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to meeting as many of you guys as possible. That'd be great. So we'll find out. All right, guys, 8 days out from the draft. Going to be interesting to see what the Birds do. Who do you guys think first pick? First pick, who do you think? Gary's been pounding the table for Sadiq. What number? He's moved on. He's not even on who they drafting. What number is he wearing? That's hilarious. O-line. I think O-line too. I'm with you on that. That we agree on, original Philly. Nah, he's going to go too high, dude. If they go that high, that's aggressive. Vega, I like Vega. Sadiq, a lot of people like Sadiq. Give him 11. Oh, no. Kenyon Sadiq gets number 11? If it's Cassius Howell wouldn't be till round 2, I don't think. Ty Simpson, did anybody catch the somebody, it was Gruden, the Gruden channel posted up a video of Ty Simpson yesterday. Which is tough to gauge because they're walking through stuff with no defenders out there. But yeah, he did it yesterday. He's definitely got a good football IQ. There's no doubt about that. At least it seems like that. No, I think Ty's like 6'2". How tall is Ty? 6'1" and 1/8. Okay. 6'1" and 1/8. Six 1 and 1/8. Is his real name Tyler? I would assume, right? It is Tyler, right? I don't know. He goes by Ty. Averse, not adverse. Those are two very different meanings. I don't know who messed that up, but he's about Bo Nix's size. Tyquavius, Tyrone, Tyshawn, Tyrannosaurus. All right, I should have known that was going to open up a can of worms. What the hell is this dude's real name? Well, now I got to look it up. What is Ty Simpson's first name? What is Ty Simpson's real first name? Ty Simpson is the real name of the American college football quarterback. They named this dude Ty? They gave this dude, how many people do you know get named a 2-letter name? Ty. That is hilarious. Tylenol. Tylenol is hilarious. His dad has won like 7 natties. I don't know shit about his dad. Look, he looked pretty good in the Alabama offense at times. He did. He struggled late in the year, though. Ty and Bo. Yeah, now we got to. How did 2 of them become NFL quarterbacks? Ty and Bo. Anybody in here have a 2-letter first name? Bo is one, yeah. The names people come up with. I know, right? You know what I often wish? John was joking about this because when my pops did the show a couple weeks ago. I wish I went by Alexander. I do. I love Zander, but I wish I went by Alexander. The problem with it is everybody wants to call you Alex. I don't want to be called Alex. Alexander or Zander. Everybody will call you Alex, though. I do that now. I'll fill out like a form with my full name, and then I get an email. Alex. Hey, Alex. I'm like, my name's not Alex. Why'd you call me Alex? My name is not Alex. It's like my brother. My brother's Joseph, and he hates Joe. He doesn't want to be Joe. My dad's Joe. My brother's Joseph. People call him Joe. He's like, my Joe. ZK's been a nickname for me for a long time. ZK, people call me that in like high school. ZK. That's where I like it. It's my garage channel, obviously. ZK's Garage. Alexander is a distinguished name. I agree. I like my name. Alexander James. I'm AJ now. I'm the new AJ in Philly. I'm the new AJ in Philly. My son's name is Alexander. Yeah, Jerry, that's dope. I didn't know your son's name is Alexander. Could be worse. Your name could be Yeah, what the hell is up with that? Elon's kid's like Xaert. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Xander, I have a question about the Sixers. If we lose or don't make the playoffs, do we get rid of Embiid? They should get rid of Embiid. They should have got rid of Embiid a couple years ago. What the hell are they trying to do? Yes, I am, sticky dog. I'm the captain now. Change your name to Alex. I don't think that would work. That's why my Nana, God rest her soul. What an amazing lady. I miss her so much. My Nana was so epic. She was so epic. My Nana. Everybody says they got a great grandmother. My grandmother was above all. I'm sorry, guys. My Nana was goated. The complete and utter goat. The matriarch of our family. She used to argue with my dad. My dad said Zander with a Z, and my Nana was like, "That's not how you spell Zander. That's not how you spell Zander." So it's pretty funny. My Nana would appreciate your comment, Gary. Guess what my son's name is? I'll guess Alexander. Alexander is an elite name. You guys want to start calling me Alexander? Go ahead, start calling me Alexander. I'll change all the descriptions and everything. Let's make the switch. Let's help me make the switch, folks. Alexander. People start taking those phone calls serious, huh? I can't make the garage channel AK's Garage though. That won't work. AK's Garage, AK-47s. Should I name my son Siggy Jr.? Joseph. Gary, call him Joseph. Trust me, he'll appreciate it. Joseph, never Joe. Never Joe. Call him Joseph. I prefer Zander. It's unique. I like Alexander. I like Alexander better than Zander. For sure. For sure. Alex Tavion Donquavius. Come on, man. What are you trying to insinuate here? You guys know who I got a text from at legitimately 3 o'clock in the morning last night? Akbar. Legitimately 3 o'clock on the number. 3 o'clock on the dot. Akbar hitting me up at 3 in the morning. I woke up, it's crack of dawn. I'm like, fuck is Akbar? Got a text from Akbar. 3 in the morning. Pretty funny. Come on, Cameron. You can do it. Come on, Cameron. You can do it. Piece of shit. Z, if Ione falls, they should take him and they should trade up for him. The interior of the O-line. I agree. I like Ione. Bro, hook that Sony up. Gary, let me do it right now. Look, I got the cord right here. Look, I got the cam link. I'm telling you, it's a weird. It doesn't work in this office as good as I'd like it to. Where's my damn camera? Here it is. Look, with the signal on there. Look, I even got the dummy battery, dude. I even got the dummy battery. Or the plug-in battery that you told me to get. I got it all. I got the cam link. I got the cord. I got the dummy battery. I don't know. Does this thing have any juice? Yeah, I got juice. Let me plug it in and see what it looks like. It doesn't. This is the Sigma 16 millimeter. I guess I should do it like this. That's it right there. Gary, I'm like an idiot, dude, when it comes to settings on this shit, dude. I struggle so much at it. One day, one of my channels is going to get big enough that I can hire somebody that just manages all the camera gear for me. I would love to get a videographer for ZK's garage. It'd be so sick. Get sick edits of the car driving and shit. Be dope. Jacob doesn't need it as much. I mean, we're a talk show podcast, you know, a little bit of a different setup. Let me unplug this from the studio. Plug this sucker in. Once I get my new setup, I'm gonna a lot will change. What side goes into the computer? I guess this side. Shit. Now you got me. Now you got me. My bad. I see I plugged in the computer, and what happens? It connects it to the camera. Where is the camera? Cam link. Oh, yeah. Look at that. What's up, folks? I don't have a camera. I don't have a tripod right now. See the lighting? I need better lighting for this camera. I need all sorts of shit for this camera, folks. What up? We're vlogging on JAKIB Sports right now. That's pretty funny. Look, you guys want to take a look? There's the setup right here. There's the camera. There's my computers. See, it doesn't focus. Focus, dude. How do I get the thing to focus? How do I get the damn thing to focus? Bro. Look, there's my Mac Studio. There's my 5 Mac Minis. We're cooking out here, babe. Oh, now it's focused on me. Doesn't focus on them, but it focuses on me. Tap the lens, Eduardo says. Man, what the hell? Gary, you see why I put this shit down? I go outside. I can get photos of this. My autofocus. Yeah, it does say that. Cancel. I don't know how to do any of this, I'm telling you. Autofocus. Who knows? ISO, I don't want that. I got limitations here, folks. You see this? I got limitations. You go back to the other. See, it looks better. It just looks better this way. Does it not? Does it not look better this way? Does it not look better this way? It's unfortunate, I know. It is what it is, what it is. Did I see a bright one? Yeah, I got it on my wrist. I wear it every day. You guys snooping around my office? You guys snooping around my office? The hell? The hell, man? Yeah, see, Ty Rich is right. Ty knows what's up. Probably, yeah, I got you, BGG. I'm pretty sure that's true. Pretty sure that's true. The Juergens and TP hidden behind. What do you mean, Juergens and TP? There's Fleming. Fleming, you're so cornified, dude. That's all you can think about. You guys want to read Akbar? If you're listening, I hope you don't mind reading me reading your text. This is what Akbar texted me because I guess he listened to my segment with Cilio yesterday, and I was talking about I watched the Bronx Tale. He said, "If you liked Bronx Tale, fuck gangs in New York. You have to see The Godfather, which I've seen. If you saw that, Zander, real shit. It has to be Casino or Pulp Fiction. Goodfellas as well. If you don't like one of them, I'll give you $100 super chat. My word is my bond. Everyone is way better than Scarface." I love Scarface. That was what Akbar texted me. So shout out to Akbar. Shout out to Akbeezy Fashizi. Gary, when you coming to town? You got is NASCAR coming to town soon? I got to look at the NASCAR schedule. This weekend they're in Kansas. Then you got Talladega. Nice. Next weekend, Texas Motor Speedway. That's got to be an awesome one, is it not? The Texas Motor Speedway's got to be pretty kick-ass. There's Dover. Dover. Is that where Is that where you're coming in? That's mid-May, right? Charlotte. Yeah, I got a lot of crap going on Yeah, I'm gonna watch that one. Yeah, BGJ, hit me up. I'll send you one. I owe you one, BGJ. You don't gotta pay for it or anything. I'll send you one. I'll order you one directly to you. This guy's trying to call me. I texted him. I'm on a show until 10:30. He just called me. It's 10:30 on the button. Yo, dude. Relax. I'll call you. I said in my text, I'll call you. Oh, you bought an RV? That's dope. Act easy, nice. I was at Dover last year, Colin. Look, I still got my thing. Shout out to Gary. I still got my thing. I keep it right over there on my door. Boom. Zander Krause. Maybe should have said Alexander. There you go. Shit was dope. I still keep it on my door. Oh, Gary, you're visiting the lab May 4th? Is he going to be in the new one then? Damn, Gary's giving you treatment. I didn't even get that. Yeah, Garage and Pits. Gary hooked me up with those. So, all right, guys, I'm out of here. I got people calling my phone. Hey, 10:30. Guy calls me right on the button. The track was insane. It was unreal. Gary took me up in the pit box too. I think that's what that's called, right, Gary? The pit box? Yeah, it's called the pit box for sure. Yeah, I've been to F1. I went to F1 in May of like 2022, I want to say. Whatever the first year in Miami was. I went to that race. That was pretty awesome too, but I think NASCAR was definitely more fun from a racing standpoint. Like F1 was bigger from like the whole city of Miami was like, you know what I mean? Like it was definitely like a wider scale event. There was like celebrities and shit all over the place, but from a racing standpoint, I enjoyed NASCAR much more. Dover's dope, Hollywood. You'll enjoy it. Cool track. I liked it. Nice, Colin. All right, guys, I got to run. I appreciate all you guys watching and tuning in. Maybe one day I'll get this camera working. Maybe. Who knows? All right, guys, appreciate it. Hit that like button. See you next time, everybody.
EAGLES. Eagles.